as I got a little bit older into my 20s, I didn't have the horse and I was quite young when I had children. So realistically, I didn't do any kind of sport from there at all. Um, and then I had my second child, and I was really finding life very difficult actually with having like being younger myself and having two young children, and in a difficult kind of relationship setup, I would say. So I'd been to the doctor because I wanted to lose weight because I was a lot larger after having the two kids and stuff like that and not being active. And the GP was really helpful and actually directed me to go to a gym. So that's great that actually the GP took that stance, and they would support me to lose weight, and I could come back and see her. But I needed to join the gym and do some kind of like physical activity, which would therefore improve my mood and the way that I felt and things like that as well. So um, I actually took her advice, and the first activities that I did then was go to body pump and body step, body combat, body everything that was on in like a local leisure centre where I lived in Inverness. So that was my first foray into the gym. Essentially, I didn't feel brave enough to be able to go into the upstairs into the proper gym because I didn't know what I was doing or anything like that at all. And I felt really self-conscious also about the way that I looked. So to me, the classes felt like a safer environment. I would meet new people because I lived away from home. And it just actually being with other people who were kind of in a similar situation made me feel much more comfortable, actually. And I just really enjoyed it.
So how old were you at this stage when you first when you first did your first kind of body pump class, if you like? Because I remember teaching body pump about 20 years ago.
Yeah. So it would have been about that. So
okay.
maybe a little bit, less. So
Yeah.
about how old? I would probably say probably about 17 years, maybe. That's
Okay.
when I first started doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was when I first started going to the gym basically, and I just kept doing that for quite a long time because it actually made me really happy. So um, and then throughout that, I obviously lost weight. Like I just said, I was a lot happier. I got more confidence, and then I was able to felt like I could go into the actual gym or go to different gyms around where I lived, and that's kind of how I got into strong sports or strength training specifically through gyms like that. So it's quite a lot of other factors in there, but essentially, I got invited to a strongwoman competition through Facebook even back then. That was in 2012. So that was quite a long time. I'd been, doing other bits and pieces, and I kind of never really looked back from there. So I'd have been about 32 then.
So
31,
what is in?
32.
So when you actually were started, so it sounds like kind of a familiar start to the story that lots of people go through, where maybe they want to lose weight and they go to a gym and they start doing these exercise classes, and you said like body pump and body combat and things like that, and then to go from that to actually I presume get more into the strength training side of it when you go into the like you said, the proper gym area, and you start lifting weights and things like that. I mean, was that something that you just did, or was there like someone who kind of took you under their wing a little bit? Did someone kind of help you? Did you have a trainer? Did you have a coach? Did someone maybe see some potential in you and wanted to help you?
Well, not I didn't have a coach or anything specifically at that time, but there's a guy who I'm still friends with now. He works for Cerberus Strength. They do all of like the support systems and things like that. And actually, at the time, he was a PT in a local gym that I decided to go to. So he showed me how to actually deadlift. So a lot of this is all his fault. And also within that gym, they used to do challenges, like weekly gym member challenges and stuff like that for like males and females. And he would always encourage me to do the guys one, always. So I think he was the first person that kind of like showed me the way, if that makes sense. And I just kind of fell in love with that. And I think from the background in horses and things like that, and being on farms, like you're used to lifting heavy and being like functionally fit. So that kind of doing strongman, or those kind of liftings, it did kind of come a bit more naturally to me because I had been used to being quite physically active, lifting heavy things and dealing with like heavy animals and things like that back then. So I just enjoyed doing strongman. And also I'd seen it on the television, the same as a lot of people, you know, World's Strongest Man. So I'd always watched that as a child as well. So I didn't even really know that the women were a part of it, because it was only ever on television twice and then just kind of disappeared. So I did remember watching it in the early 2000s and thinking, good Lord, they're amazing. You know, obviously to me, I would love, like, strongman is, I love strongman, but like strong woman is like more my thing, obviously. So when I was watching the ladies do it, I was like, wow, that looks great. But at that point in my life, it wasn't even a fleeting thought it would be something that I would do. So, yeah.
And did you
sorry.
start doing some sort of like regional shows and things like that to begin with? I mean, I don't really know how much the infrastructure is set up for the kind of like the women's sport as opposed to the men's sport, but there's lots and lot. I know it's a lot more popular now, obviously, than it was 10 years ago. So were there kind of small regional shows that you could go along and do, or were you doing more kind of like deadlift competitions and specific kind of competitions, different things?
The first competition that I did was like a deadlift only competition, like within the gym, and that was actually Luke Stockman's and my first competition, so we both did that at the same time. But then from there, there was no novice competitions or beginners or intermediates like there is now. So I just been invited to a competition that was in Ayrshire, but the lady who was running it had brought people over from Iceland and Germany and stuff like that. So like the internet was much more limited then. So I remember watching a few of them on like YouTube videos, and I was like, oh my goodness, like what on earth have I got myself into here with these people? But you know, I actually had a great day, and it just kind of went from there. The pathways to like bigger competitions, there wasn't so many, if you see what I mean. So you ended up kind of like at the deep end quite quick. So that's what happened to me.
Yeah,
that's really interesting, especially the thing you said about like dealing with like animals and just functional strength around the countryside, like farming or whatever. And that's how all this started back in the day anyway, didn't it? People were lifting heavy stuff, and then they were like, oh, let's make a competition out of it, because humans are a bit daft, aren't they? They're like, all right, let's see who the strongest person on the farm is. So that's great, and like the functional strength behind it. But then obviously, like you said, you went to a gym and then someone showed you how to deadlift, and then you had the strength, but then the technique comes in with it. So how, and then you went to that competition, and then there's all these people coming in who know what they're doing, and you're there like, right, I kind of know what I'm doing, but what's going on here? So how's your training evolved over time from that to now? I mean, because I know on your documentary you said, you know, we were just winging it. We were just picking stuff up and putting it down and hoping for the best. So how's that evolved?
Well, it's evolved quite significantly, obviously. So whereas before it was just kind of like seeing what the events were and maybe doing them. But now I did go to like other classes. I went and spent some time with like Gemma Magnuson, because I've moved back to Yorkshire, or Gemma Taylor, I should say now. But really, and a chap called Gary Gardner, he was really helpful with me to, you know, show me strongman events, and especially like Atlas-stone lifting. You know, he showed me lots of different things. But I suppose it evolved greatly when I got with my coach, Jenny. So Jenny and I have been together like from the very start of like our kind of international lifting, I would say. And we've been like, it's been a lot of years. So it has evolved significantly, because the sport has evolved significantly. It's, you know, an actual sport now. You know, you can travel the world doing this, and the competition is hard. You know, it's more and more people come, the depth of talent gets bigger and bigger. So you have to evolve as an actual athlete now. It's not just like strong people lifting things anymore. It's an actual sport, and it should be treated as such. And that's how I treat it, as a sport.